Alright, so I was actually inspired to make this video by a few people. Normally, like, these videos lead off with, like something I've went through, but I've just been seeing a lot of a lot of people suffering with eternal pain, not eternal, internal pain, and are looking for somebody to either fix them or aren't accepting that they hold pain within inside of them, and are like falling back on either people, objects, things, of the sort, to try to make them feel better. So situations that are going on in people's lives that really got me in my feels, because I'm only one person, and it's like I feel emotions from people, and when there's nothing I can do about it, I feel kind of hopeless. Not hopeless, but helpless. And I guess the best way to put it was, and then on top of earlier today, this woman was walking down the street and she needed to use the phone, and coincidentally, she walked up and sat on my porch for a minute, and we were talking about pain and addictions. And I said, that's just so ironic, because, I started explaining to her how I was making these videos, and I said, well, today I was going to speak upon pain and how, people create crutches in order to cope with pain. And so she started telling me a little bit about her life and how far she's come, and, it's just I like hearing other people's stories and how they deal with certain situations and issues in their life. So when it all boiled down to it, a lot of us suppress when we are hurt or upset, and just pain in general. And when we do that, we look for something to numb the pain. Now, that's whenever I feel like addictions come in. That can fall under the categories of, being codependent off of people, or drugs, alcohol, sex, food. I'm sure there's probably a couple more, but it's like just finding something to numb the reality of what they really feel inside. And for some people, that crutch that they create can either intensify the pain that they feel inside, or it can just make it all go away. And then eventually, whenever they end up sobering up, or whenever they come to, aside from that substance or that addiction that they have created within them, then they feel it all over again, and it never really went away. So that's why, like, I wanted to talk about this today, because not only do we have like a drug epidemic going on, in today's society, but we have like, food disorders, obesity, bulimic, anorexia, and then we've got, people who are in and out of failed relationships because of being broken from past traumas that they never coped with, trying to fill that void. And then, you've got all these different types of drugs and substances that, are some type of healing mechanism, for whatever dilemma that they're going through. Yeah, exactly, Travis. That's I actually was having a conversation, with somebody, and it just, a lot of people, like, whenever you're codependent off of somebody trying to heal you or fix you, or if you see somebody that's got their life all put together and you're like, I want to be like that person, or I need some of that energy, or, maybe they can help me get through whatever it is that I'm going through. But a lot of people lack that mentality that, right, it takes within to deal with those emotions. It takes internal strength to let go of the pain and the issues that are presented to us, or that we have experienced in our life, because if we don't deal with them, even if we don't deal with them right away, if we don't deal with them eventually or sooner or later, then there's certain particular habits that are going to continue on in our lives. And whenever we create specific, addictions to cope with pain, then it can cause a handful of more issues in our lives. You can cause health issues, you can lose relationships, you can lose friendships, you can lose, that's another thing too, is, like, people are also holding on to pain from lost loved ones, and not want to accept that, why that person why their time got shortened, or why they're not here anymore, like, it's just a pain that can nobody fix, but yourself. And if you try to lean on somebody else, and then say, for instance, or that person or that object that you're leaning on is no longer there available, then it's like you fall right back into that pit of just sadness, just like, if it's something, if the pain causes enough to make us change our lifestyles, or how we vocalize or communicate our feelings or our lifestyle in general, right, it just really determines on, like, how deep the matter really is, and how much work has to be put in to fix it. So I just it's crazy, because when you get closer to that healing process within yourself, it's like, once you create that codependency on a substance or a person or an object, when you try to break away from it, it's like, it intensifies the pain, it intensifies the feeling that you were feeling, when you didn't have that substance. So it's like, breaking away from it is even harder. Now, for example, okay, I started smoking cigarettes when I was like 24, 25. I waited really late to smoke cigarettes. I was always the person who couldn't stand the smell of it, couldn't stand people who smoke cigarettes, and I'd stopped a few times, like, I never really was like a big smoker. I wasn't a chain smoker, or nothing, but I had the mind frame and the willpower to stop whenever I felt like I needed to stop. Normally when I couldn't afford it, or normally whenever I just felt like it wasn't doing anything for my health-wise. And of course, come on, cigarettes, you're not really doing anything for your health in general. But just recently, back in January of this year, January was a really, really rough a rough month for me. And I chain smoked and didn't eat much. So I was used to smoking, probably, gosh, I don't know, we could say 7 or 8 cigarettes a day, maybe more, just because I was so stressed out. I was at that breaking point of not knowing where I was going with my life. I was broken, I was heartbroken, I was so unhappy. And so I think it was probably right afterwards, I think the first week of February, I didn't want to smoke no more. I knew what it was doing to me, and the fact that my sister even says, she's like, Starla, you're losing weight, like, are you okay? And I'm like, no, I'm just stressed out, like, I smoke cigarettes and I don't eat. Smoke cigarettes and I drink my tea and I don't eat. So whenever I noticed the results that I was getting and how it wasn't really affecting, like, it wasn't like helping me, I stopped smoking cigarettes. Now, the 3rd day after stopping, I thought I had the flu. I was sicker than I'd ever been in my life. I mean, chills, shakes, fever, coughing up shit, and I didn't want to get out of bed. Like, I didn't know what withdrawal symptoms could possibly be until that very moment. And like I said, I thought I had the flu. Like, I looked up the symptoms and everything, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got the flu. Like, this is not good. I've never had the flu in my life. Well, come to find out, there's a thing called smoker's flu, which resembles the same exact thing in symptoms that a regular viral flu does, except it doesn't last as long as an actual flu does. It only lasts for that third or that fourth day, because the following day I was completely fine. And I just remember that feeling, of like how horrible I felt. And it's because my body was so used to intaking so many cigarettes, that third day was like the roughest for me. And I told myself that that feeling would not be the feeling that I ever want to feel again. So I stopped smoking cigarettes for 3 months. And then it wasn't an issue. Like, I was surrounded by people who smoked cigarettes, didn't care, was not, like I said, was not a big problem. Well, then something came upon in my life back in May that kind of triggered that needing that, because I smoked cigarettes as an anxiety thing. It was kind of like, it was really like an anxiety stress reliever for me, because I don't drink alcohol, I don't do drugs. Now I have smoked marijuana, but that was kind of like my go-to. That was my crutch, whenever I felt like I was going through certain things in my life. But so something occurred in my life in May, and I wasn't strong enough to fight that urge, and I picked back up the habit. So whenever I picked back up the habit, I was like, like, I can't even say nothing to anybody about what they do anymore, because I remember feeling that feeling and telling myself that I was never going to smoke a cigarette again because of that feeling. But I was like, as long as I do it in moderation, don't smoke as much, Starla, and, you'll be okay, because I've had the mind frame of quitting, so I know that I can quit again whenever I choose to. Now, I'm sure each time is a little bit harder, but each time I stop, it's really never a big issue for me. But that's just me, because that's probably one of my strongest characteristics, is like, I have a strong mind frame, and whenever I set out to do something, I do it, no matter the consequences that come with it. And sometimes, struggle is hard. So whenever I went through that experience, I felt like I could relate to more people who create addictions in their life because of that withdrawal feeling. Nobody wants to experience that sickness, that illness, that coming down part, that, like, I know it's probably more extreme for other types, but and other, like, leeway, like, substances that people fall back on. But I now know, like, how hard it is for, once people get in that habit of doing it, like, why they don't want to fall back. But then the reality of it all is, like, it saddens me, because there's some things you can't turn back from, and although smoking cigarettes is affecting my health, there's other substances out here that can do even more harmful to the health or your lifestyle, or just in general, guys, okay? So I was just using that as an example. But that wasn't really a way that I coped with pain, like, I coped with pain by sleeping, by crying, by writing, by praying, by just teaching myself how to have patience and just practice one day at a time, because I knew that it was going to be harder in the beginning, and then eventually, once I got past that hard phase of being in a painful stance, that eventually it was going to dissipate. And and I say this all the time in all my videos, guys, like, temporary emotions, they don't last forever. Everything's temporary, from our situations to our circumstances to our feelings. So I had to keep reminding myself, like, this is only temporary, Starla, this is only temporary. So, but to be surrounded, like, I have a lot of people in my life who cope with pain in ways that I can't possibly relate to, and it it hits my heart in a way that I can't really, grasp, because it's like the internal me wants to just be able to like take pain away from people, like just take it away so they don't have to go through that suffering. But we're supposed to feel pain. We're supposed to feel it from all levels, whether it's a heartbreak, whether it's a disappointment, whether it's a loss of something or somebody. We're supposed to experience that so we can know what joy feels like on the opposite end of that, Because, like, and you know what? I can't even agree to that, because I know people who have, like, continued to do that throughout their whole life. But I feel like I drank so much alcohol before I was even of age that now, as I've gotten older, I can't tolerate it the same. Like, no matter what type of alcohol or liquor it is, I can't tolerate it the same. Now, I don't really hang out and go out to a lot of places or, like, drink with friends. So that's probably why it also affects me differently, because, if I'm sitting at home and I'm, like, having a couple of beers or something or some wine, like, it takes me to sleep. But I'm sure it'd be different if I had somebody with me that was interacting with me, that was, like, kind of hyping me up. Then it'd probably be a whole different feel. But, being a mom of two and being on this schedule of, like, constantly, like, just living our lives day by day, like, moderation, I don't feel like there's nothing wrong with having drinks here and there and every so often, but, like, on a regular daily basis, to where you're, shit-faced every single day or night, and you're constantly wanting more and wanting more, then yeah, that could probably be a problem. That's why I said, like, everybody has their own, like, way of, right, like, you've got musicians and artists out here who, deal with their pain and their experiences through writing, and it's almost like a way of release. I remember, hearing like a while ago that somebody had mentioned that, when you're heartbroken or you're in pain, just write it all down, even if it's, say, like, you're writing a letter to the person that hurt you, or you're writing a letter about the whatever it is that bothered you, and crumple it up or throw it away, just because you're releasing those emotions out. And I'm just like, me personally, I like to save all my papers, like all my internal thoughts, like my emotions. Like, I have binders and notebooks and a tote full of letters and poems and stories and stuff that I've wrote throughout the years. Like, I like that. And it bothers me because, like, sometimes there's been times in my life where I've written letters or poems to, people, and, depending on how the situation goes, they'll either throw it away or tear it up or something, and I'll be like, no, if you don't want it, I get it, just give it back to me, like, because those are my personal thoughts on that paper, and if it don't mean nothing to you, well, it means something to me, I like to go back and at least see where my head was at that time frame. But, right, there's always, like, positive ways to enforce coping with pain, and, like, if anybody else knows of other productive ways to cope with pain and heal over it, please add it, because my main focus on this video today was, like, how many people are suppressing emotions and just running away from the reality, like, so afraid to deal with that pain, like, all over again. Like, I get it, it hurt when it happened, and some people carry that pain and that hurt for so long and so many years, and it affects, like, everything that they do. But about the talking to somebody, you could talk to somebody about the pain you're going through. But here's the thing, guys. You can open up to somebody, but if that person that you're opening up to hasn't healed from their own pain, then that's kind of going to reflect upon your situation, because if that person hasn't dealt with their pain properly, then I don't really feel like the advice would be beneficial, you know? Like, I mean, what might work for some might work for others, and what might not work for this person might work for the next person. So, you just kind of, you know, like, you don't want to, like, open up to just anybody about the pain you're going through, because, like I said, if you're opening up to somebody who couldn't possibly understand, like, just that a person's emotions and feelings, like, that people have those, then people, you know, like, you got to be cautious about who you speak up to, because you never know what you're going to get from people, you know? It's like Forrest Gump. Life's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Like, really. You don't know what you're going to get, and you never know what you're going to get whenever you open up to people. So be mindful that whenever you open up to people about pain that you're trying to cope with, don't have no expectations on what they might tell you, because it could either help your situation or it can make your situation worse. Well, see, Matt, I've been putting my personal life out here, and yeah, it can play out in the wrong way, but I mean, my whole motive of putting my personal life out here is so people who are in the dark with their own lives could see that if somebody else can do it, then the next person can. Now, I'm not saying that we're all set up the same way, because we're not. Like, how I go about my life and my personal issues may not be as easy or simple for somebody else to do. Like, it took for me to do a lot of healing and a lot of internal work for me to be able to open up about the issues that are going on in my life, or the things that I have went through. So that's why I felt open and comfortable with talking about my life, because I dealt with a lot of these things internally by myself, because I found that whenever I went to people, it didn't really help me. And then I sought therapy, and, I felt like maybe I should have gotten therapy a little bit sooner in my life instead of when I did, because I felt like when I started getting therapy, it was almost like clarification of what I was feeling. Like, these things I kind of already knew what was going on, and I knew what I needed to do. So it was good to just, it's still good. Like, I still have therapy. Like, it's good to just still have that person to talk to that knows nothing about you personally except for what you tell them. Like I said, it plays out different whenever you're telling family, because family can be like your worst enemies or your biggest supporters, just really depending on where you're coming from. But if you put stuff out to people about your life, I mean, to me, I feel like I think it would inspire people. I think that's probably what gave me a boost, was I see, people who are speaking up and standing in their truth and explaining what they've went through and how strong it made them, and like how far they've come and what they've suffered and how much they had to surrender. I mean, like, to me, that is a beautiful thing, but again, like, I'm not like everybody else, and there are people out here who will sit there and bash and be quick to annihilate, that person for putting themselves on blast. But me personally, I look at it like, if I'm opening up about my personal life, then you can't use it as a weapon against me, because I'm already opened up about it. Like, I'll be more than willing to talk to you about it. I'll tell you about my experiences. I'll tell you how it made me feel, what I learned from it, like all of that good stuff, because what works for me may not be, somebody else may not be on that same track. Somebody else may have a completely different, vision for themselves. But my vision for, myself is to open up about the things I've went through, because it helps me. It helps me to know that maybe along the line I'm helping somebody else. Even though there's some things that I may not always be able to relate to, but there's always somebody in my surroundings, environment, or my close and personal family and friends that I have witnessed and I have observed gone through things. And like I said, guys, like, I feel emotions from people, whether or not they had it or whether they talk about it. Like, there's so many people who are codependent on somebody else to boost them up and to give them that inspiration, but it may not affect them, so they're looking for something that they can't even find themselves. And if you have that within yourself, then you don't really need anybody else to like help you be better for yourself, help you be better for your life, for your children, for your family, like it just really depends on your surroundings and who you hang out with. It has a lot to do with like who you hang out with in your environment, because again, people that are, recovering from certain addictions or trying to, stay away from a certain lifestyle, there's temptation everywhere. So if you don't build that mindset within yourself, then it's all too easy to sit there and fall back into that same routine whenever it was so hard to come up out of. That's why that's why I stress so much to everybody that I'm speaking to, like, to focus on that mindset and your internal health, because your internal health is more important than your physical health and your external health, period. Like if you can sit here and heal all of this that's inside, then everything else just kind of, it's not, the road is never going to be easy. But if you can heal everything that's going on inside and be able to admit and accept, even if you're not speaking about it, but you accept what it is that you felt and accept what you've done and accept how far you've come, and you're not looking for validation from nobody, then it kind of just makes the rest of the obstacles or challenges that come in your life like almost like they're going to be tests, but it's like they're reminders to be like, well, look how far you've come, and this is just another, test for you. Are you going to pass it or are you going to fail it? Because that's what our life is, guys. Like, they're just continuous tests to see if we have grown or if we were just temporarily setting in that mindset. Like, which path are we going to go? Was I happier over here where my life was falling apart, or am I happier over here where, I know myself a little better? I know what I want for myself a little better. Like, there's always going to be a time in your life where you're kind of just standing in the middle, like, you've had a taste a little bit of both sides, and then there's some who are stuck in the down pit of their lives, and and without that internal health healing, then it's just going to keep on spiraling down, and it's going to be harder to heal from anything in general. I mean, it's a lot. Like, I can't say that it would be easy it's not easy for anybody. Like, life isn't supposed to be easy. So when we go through struggles and obstacles that are supposed to like pick and poke at our wounds and pick and poke at our, self-esteem issues and our insecurities and our worth in general, then it's challenging to grow from those in general. I mean, and it is good. It's good to connect with people who you can relate to on what they went through in their life, because then when, it's like you're not ashamed to share your story with somebody who's going through the exact same thing. Like, then you can share with amongst one another on like how you all as individuals can cope and heal, and even be able to support one another. Because again, you surround yourself with the wrong people who can't relate to you, then they may or may not be able to help you. But I mean, here I am, can't relate to everybody, but I feel like I can help somebody. I really don't think time frame history, that chemistry with somebody really makes a difference, because you can know somebody your whole life, but depending on where they are with their life and what they've suffered and what they've gone through, again, they may influence you to fall off the path you're supposed to take, or fall off what's best for you, But then again, I mean, guys, it can work both ways. I'm not saying don't trust the people that you've known all your life, and I'm not saying don't trust the stranger that you met yesterday. I'm just saying that, it all starts within. Like, you can talk to people till you're blue in the face about what you're feeling. You can tell them about about your emotions. You can tell them about your scars, your wounds. But there's people who continue to tell the same story, and they don't really want to open up about the deep stuff, you know. So if you're not opening up about the deep stuff and you're just repeating over and over and over about the small things, then it's not really fixing the problem, you know. All you're doing is just, I feel like you're just running out of breath. It's like a broken record, you know. And like I said, like sometimes I have people that have been in my life that will just say the same things over and over and over, and you know, and then I'll ask questions. I'm always asking questions like, why do you feel this way? What made you feel this way? You know, who was affected in this and whatnot. And when people are like, I don't want to talk about it, or, you know, it's bigger than, you know, it's more deeper than what you think. Well, then I feel like, why even say just that little bit over and over and over and over if you're just gonna leave people in question and in doubt? Like, now I'm over here curious, like, I mean, you say it's deeper than that, but you don't want to share, but you keep telling me or reminding me that what you've been going through is awful, or what you feel is awful, but you don't want to talk about what the root of the matter. Like, sometimes, honestly, guys, look, I'll be all the way real and honest with you all about this. Sometimes all it takes is for you to speak it out loud to yourself, okay? Sometimes you don't even have to sit there and talk to anybody. Sometimes it just takes you speaking it out loud, because you speaking out loud is saying that you accept it. You know, okay, I'm aware that this happened in my life. You know, this is what it is. I know nobody heard me. But, again, seeking validation and acceptance or approval or sympathy or pity from somebody else about that matter is not going to heal it for yourself. It's going to take for you to heal it for yourself. You and only you. Like I said, sometimes it can be as simple as just saying, yeah, this happened in my life. Wow. Changed my life forever. Well, are you going to sit and keep on dwelling on it and thinking about it and repeating it over and over and over? Are you going to keep replaying it in your mind? Because I know that's probably possible. You know, you might sit there and replay what hurt you or what broke you or what was traumatizing in your life. You play it over and over and over and over, wishing you could have done something differently to avoid that pain and that hurt that you caused it, or that somebody else or you caused for yourself. Like, you know, it don't do no good to just repeat it over and over and over and over. You know, it's just like that video I said about forgiveness. Accept it, release it, let it go, and push forward. Because you are sabotaging your own growth and sabotaging your own vision for yourself by replaying it and reliving it. I mean, it's going to be tough, you know, like it's tough to sit there and relive those moments. And what's crazy is, like, so some years back I started writing a story. It was supposed to be a book. I was going to write a book about my life. And I started from the very first memory I had. And I typed all the way up. It was probably a good, like, 60 some odd pages. By the time I stopped, the time period that I stopped at was when I was 18. Like, I think graduating high school or something. Somewhere along that line. And I stopped. Excuse me. And I never went back and started rewriting on it, because all those memories that I set to the side and didn't really open up and talk to about with anybody, because like it opened up a whole new set of wounds that I didn't even know I had. Like, it was rough. Like, whew, it was like reliving it all over again. And that's where I was going with that, was like, when you speak it out loud and you accept what you've went through, you know, are you going to keep reliving the moment over and over and over? Well, for that moment in time where I was typing that story, I relived all those moments in my life all over again. And it was tough on me, which is why I stopped, because I'm like, whoa, that was a whole lot, you know, just within like 15, 16 years of my life, you know, because I remember the very first memory I had was when I was like 2 or 3 years old, you know, and it was of my mom and my dad fist fighting. And it was never really a decent memory from that moment on for a while. So I'm just sitting there and I'm just thinking, like, gosh, you know, like, I think that's when I was really, like, so serious about that you know, I can't give my child the life I had, like, at all. And I had to start making changes in my life. So I had, like, stopped writing on it. You know, don't relive the moment over and over, guys, because it'll make it harder on yourself. I had to grow up really quick. And I became a mom at 19. So my son, my oldest, he, like, went through a lot with me. You know, he saw a lot. He saw me go through a lot emotionally. If I was ever, depending on what the situation is, like, I'll be upfront and honest with him, like, look, this is what's going on. I'm having a rough day. Don't worry about it. You know, it is what it is. Because if I don't tell him, it's like he bugs and bugs and bugs and bugs and bugs. Because, like, we've been like this since he was little, you know. Like, I can't hide nothing from him. He's like my little mini-me. You know, for the longest time, he was like my only friend, which is sad. And then, you know, so now I've got the youngest one, and, you know, like I said, life has changed a lot, so I've dealt with things a lot differently, and I just always embedded in myself. I wasn't going to give my children the childhood that I had, because, you know, I felt like growing up, me and my siblings were punished for my parents' mistakes, and that affected us into adulthood. Sadly, parents are too caught up in their own traumas and not want to cope and deal with the pain of, you know, because there's a lot of bitter mothers and fathers out here that treat their child differently because of how they feel about the opposing parent, or treat the child differently because the child has more respect for others than they do for themselves. I mean, for, you know, the parent. I mean, like, that's why, like, I'm always stressing, guys, that it's important for our generation to get our minds right, because we have the youth and the younger generation below us, and if we can't get our minds right, then how are we supposed to lead our offspring? To watch your parents not have no drive and motivation for themselves, and then fall back on addictions and depression and, you know, certain types of disorders and stuff, can be, I mean, it's like a generational curse, a cycle, I feel like. And until one of the children or the family members or something puts a stop to it for the remaining offspring, then it's just going to be a cycle that's going to be continuous. It's going to keep on going on and on and on. There's a time and a place, guys. It's no longer about us. I mean, it is about us, because we need to be well in order to take care of our young. But when we have children, our roles in life completely change up. So we have to be able to make sure that we internally fix ourselves, so therefore we're raising more than what we were and what we could be. And that's been my motto forever. Like, you always want to give your children more than what you ever had. And I remember somebody a long time ago told me, it was like, well, there's going to be parents that are envious and jealous of how far their children go, so therefore they don't want, they're going to make sure that they put every obstacle in that child's way just so that they don't achieve more than what they have. And that's sad. It's pitiful. If I can be like, I think the one thing I feel like I could get out of what I'm doing and what I'm presenting to anyone who watches these videos is like being like a life coach or mentor. That'd be pretty cool. I want people to keep in mind that I can't fix your problems. I can observe what you've went through. I can observe how you feel. I can, observe what type of person it's made you, and then take all that and be able to envision what you could be with yourself, even if you don't see it with yourself. But all of that means nothing if you don't believe it and have faith in it yourself. So that's why, like, I have people that are really close to me, people that I love so much, that are just going through certain things in their lives, and they want an easy fix, and and then want to get mad at me whenever I don't tell them what they want to hear. And I'm like, look, I'm not here to sit here and tell you what you want to hear, because if I tell you what you want to hear, then I'm only enabling you and making you feel like that it's okay to sit here and do these things, and it's not okay to sit here and do these things. I get it, live in the moment, experience and whatnot, but when you keep doing things over and over and over and over and over and you're still unhappy, well, that becomes a personal problem and no longer my problem. Here it is, turns out 30, 40, 50 years later, and they're still holding on to it. We got to stop that, because they don't want to have to deal with what is going on inside of them, because it's all too easy to point fingers and point the blame at something or somebody else. If you take the easy route, then you're bound to hit some type of obstacle or challenge. And if you don't learn your lesson by then, something's going to happen in your life that's going to shake it all up, and it's going to make you and force you to deal with it. Because, if you go so long with suppressing that pain, then you kind of become good at not dealing with it. So it has to be like a willingly thing. Like, you have to willingly want to let that go. You have to willingly, just not want that on your subconscious no more. Not want to carry it on no more. Not want to, not wanting it to influence what you're doing in life no more. Like, you have to willingly do that. And my motive for this video was the fact that I see and I know so many people who are holding on to stuff that happened so many years ago, or happened presently, or whatever, and they're just pointing fingers and pointing fingers and pointing fingers. Again, it's not for anybody else or for anything for anything to fix. And then you end up losing good people. You end up either losing money out of your pocket, you end up either losing good friendships, you end up losing jobs, you end up losing material things. Holding on to pain can cause more loss than what you had even intended on having in the first place. You thought that pain that you're sitting there suffering through is traumatic. Yesterday is heavy, let it go, or put it down. Yesterday is heavy, put it down. Yeah. And it's true. It's like you're carrying it on day by day by day by day by day. And it just breaks my heart that people, in personal experience, I held on to pain from all different areas for so long, and I found people that I depended on to make me feel better. I drank in order to numb that pain. I smoked weed in order to numb the loneliness. I would eat. Out of boredom. I have sit there and suppressed a lot of pain in my life, to where the only way to cope with it was by looking to other people and other things. And like I said, when it all came to, I was just like, this ain't doing me nothing. Nobody can fix this for me. And it was a rude awakening. It was a painful awakening. That pain that you go through, it's going to be painful when you heal from it, because you finally accepted it. It's almost like it's been attached to you for so long. So almost kind of like anything else, say for a leech. I look at pain as a leech. You try to pull it off, and it's going to be stuck to you until you literally yank it off, and it's going to bleed. It is going to bleed when you let it go, and that's okay, because it's temporary. You accepted it and you let it go, and once you let it go, the memories are always going to be there, of course, but it's just how you feel about it and how you let it, how you let it affect your life and how you react to it. So, there's no time frame to healing from anything, and it saddens me, because I want so much for the people I care about to deal with their issues, so we can just all move along happily, so we can all come together again and enjoy our time with each other again, and and laugh and smile and have good times. And I like genuine, real smiles and laughter, not the fake stuff, not the I can't stand a fake smile. Don't half-ass smile at me. You better mean that shit, I'm not going to half-ass smile at you. If I'm not having a good day, you're going to know it. And it may be hard, and it may not be hard to smile, but there's a lot of things that we are so grateful for. People hold on to things that are yesterdays. Like you said, yesterday, it's old stuff. And completely, miss the great things that are literally right in front of us. Like, you could have something like the greatest opportunity sitting right in front of you, and it just don't even look good because you're just sitting in this place of just so much hurt and brokenness, and you just know that you can't quite enjoy that opportunity because you're just so broken inside. But if you accept it and you let it go, then that opportunity looks amazing, and you're going to want to grab onto it with every dang bit of strength that you have and not let it go. So I'm sure that'll probably resonate for some people. But I definitely want to send positive vibes to everybody. And it's sad because you got people out here who will try so hard to make people happy, who will do everything they can, bend over backwards, cater and love and show attention and affection or spoil people. And it's like some people are just like, it's not good enough because they're not good enough for themselves. Like, they're not good enough for what they've went through or what they've suffered. Just know that life is so precious, and there are people out here, even if you don't have people in your life like that, there are people out here who want to see you strive and see you excel and see you reach so high in all your goals and your dreams, and do not like seeing you upset and sad and unhappy and stressed out and feeling pity. Nobody likes pity parties, okay? There are people out here who are rooting for you. And if nobody's out here rooting for you, root for yourself, okay? You can get through this. It's like ripping off a Band-Aid. I say this almost in every video. It's only temporary. The pain that you feel, the pain that you keep suppressed inside over certain situations, stop blaming. Stop pointing fingers at other people, because it's something that you have to deal and fix with yourself. I hope and pray that anybody who has any type of addiction or crutch that gets them to cope with whatever they're suppressing, may you have the strength and the awareness of how or may not affect your life, and may you overcome any obstacles and struggles with that addiction. It's all a mindset. It really is, guys. It's definitely a mindset. So keep in mind that we are all that we can be. And if we can't be all that we are, then who are we really being? Okay? So I'm just going to leave it on that note. Appreciate all y'all support, and I hope that you all have a blessed rest of y'all's week.